Hello, Healthy Green Thumbs friends. We know that many of you are moving and living in smaller spaces, whether you're going to college and living in a dorm, or maybe you're downsizing and moving to assisted living, or perhaps you're just getting started or choosing to live in a small space like a studio or a one bedroom apartment or a tiny home. There's all different types of ways that we're living these days, and we want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to grow plants to promote their health and well-being. So today's episode is focusing on growing plants in small spaces, and so let's get started. And first we're going to talk about how we can grow some food indoors. Okay, so in our series of growing in small spaces, we are here with Nick Hosking from
Hello.
Triangle Urban Farm, and he is going to show us how to grow with towers.
That's
And
right.
these are tower gardens, which can be used in a setting like a greenhouse like this, which we're going to start with. He's going to give us a little information about how these work. And then he's going to take us indoors and show us a home version that any of us could grow indoors or even in a closet, as he tells me. But before we get started with Nick, I just want to give you a couple of little snippets of statistics. Mostly what's grown in these is lettuce and herbs. And just to little tidbits that I thought was interesting was one is that lettuce is the second most consumed vegetable, second to potatoes. And U.S. production, 98% is grown in between California, which grows 71%, and Arizona, which typically grows 29%. So if you think about the carbon footprint of that, what that means in terms of shipping to all of us, and the decreased nutrient value, the decreased taste in the shipping time, as opposed to growing our own right in our own home or backyard or space,
Or town.
or town,
That's
or
right.
school, or
Yep.
we were talking just about schools.
Schools.
What's great about these towers is they really can allow you to grow anywhere. And so Nick is going to give us a little bit of information. As you can see, this is a nice big greenhouse. So Nick, tell us first how you got started in this.
Sure. About 3 years ago, me and my wife really started to focus on nutrition and getting healthy food in our systems, and we found it hard to find good, nutritious food in the local area all year round. And I think that was the biggest part that we had a trouble with, was finding lettuce all year round that was local. And so we decided to open up Triangle Urban Farm using these towers that were made by Tower Garden. It's a subset of hydroponics. It's a little different. It's called aeroponic growing. And we found them because they're super flexible and you can move them about and put them anywhere. And so we have them in a greenhouse here, but I've visited tower farms that are on top of apartment buildings in New York City. I've heard of colleges that have tower farms, or even little like living communities where they put a tower farm right in the middle of the community, and then it's like part of your homeowners association fees is that you go and you get a certain amount of food every week from a tower. So they're really flexible. You can grow anything. We focus only really on lettuces and specialty greens like kales and arugula. But you can grow anything in the towers themselves that's not a root vegetable because there's no soil. It's a subset of hydroponic growing. So it works on the roots sitting out in air, and we have little green beans right here, and you can see the roots are just hanging in the air. And so they sit in the middle of the cylinders of the towers, and on a timer, every 15 minutes the timer goes off and water runs down the tower and wets the roots. So this is aeroponic growing, so the roots are sitting in the air, as opposed to hydroponic growing where the roots are always sitting in the water.
So show them a little closer the medium that it's growing in, and tell us what about that
Sure.
medium.
Sure. So this is rock wool. It is rock. It's superheated so that it becomes more of a liquid, and then it's spun like cotton candy and pressed into a cube. Some of the insulation in our houses is similar type of good called rock wool, but we use it and it's pressed into a cube. It's really, really good to grow with. It is an inert material. Rock's inert. It doesn't absorb anything for itself. It's really porous, so it holds a lot of liquid in it. So when the tower's not running with water, there's still water for the roots to have, because you can see all of the water, just me squeezing it. It's like a sponge. And it's really good for the roots to grow through. It's porous, so the roots grow through it well, and it provides an anchor for the plants to hold on to as they grow in the tower.
Okay. And so that is all friendly and not toxic or
That's
anything
right.
like that.
It's just like the rocks you find in your yard, but so you don't use soil in the towers. I like to talk about conservation, and I know you talked about the carbon footprint of moving lettuce across the country, but there's a lot of other parts to it that we don't think about. There's the plastic that they wrap the lettuce in. There's the cardboard, the waxed cardboard that they put it into a box that then goes into the truck. There's the tractors that they use to harvest the lettuce. So there's a lot more that goes into the production of lettuce than we like to think about. And so I like the towers because, one, we conserve soil, which is a really important thing. And so there's no soil used in anything that we grow. Two, we conserve water. We use about 10% of the water that it takes to grow one of our heads of lettuce. It takes about 90% more to grow a conventional head of lettuce in the soil. And that's because, you know, you're watering everything, not just that lettuce. Here the water gets pumped from the tub in the bottom, goes up to the top, rains down on the plants, and then gets collected back in the tub. So it's recycled over and over and over again.
Wow. Okay. And so how long typically does it take to grow a head of lettuce before you harvest it?
Typically in the tower we're growing for 4 weeks.
4 weeks.
Okay.
Okay.
So we grow everything in trays before they go into the tower, and so they're usually in trays for about 3 weeks, and then they're in the towers for 4 weeks. So usually lettuce has like a 50-day turnover.
Okay. And Nick has gotten so good at this, and he and his wife are so passionate about that they're part of farmers markets and now distributing to local homes and some really creative things. And I just want to put a plug in for anyone who, as you're watching this and you might be interested in trying one of these towers yourself, I will be telling you about Triangle Urban Farms and including their website in this video so that you can reach out to Nick directly and purchase and or ask questions and get more information about these.
That's right. We love kind of trying to get the idea out there of anybody can grow anywhere with any size space. I mean, we have this giant greenhouse, right? And I mean, but it's not that giant. It's only 720 square feet, and we grow 2,500 plants in it at all times, right? And so on a conventional farm, that would take almost acreage to do. So it really compacts the area that you're in. And not only can you grow in the greenhouse, but I think we're going to take you guys inside, and we can show you how you can grow right in your kitchen or your dining room or your living room or your closets or your basement or wherever you have space.
So before we go inside, one more
Yes,
question, and then
absolutely.
we're going to do a little tour to show the type of lettuce and things he's growing. And just in terms of insects,
Yep.
what is your insect control or issues or things like that?
I mean, insects are a part of life, and we're growing in a really a product that's been designed to grow well, right? And it's been University of Mississippi put effort into the growing of the towers, and they've done research on the towers. NASA has put research into using the towers and getting these towers to work properly. So it's a perfect growing system. So there's definitely bugs. And the good thing is that it's easier to notice bugs on towers because it's white. You can see like what's going on, and you know, you can see like the scat of bugs instead of, you know, dirt. It's just looks like dirt. And then you can try to control it a lot easier with ways that are safer than when you're spraying massive quantities of or large areas of fields. We use things like diatomaceous earth, which is edible, right? We use food grade diatomaceous earth to try and keep bug populations down. We use Frank's hot sauce to keep bugs from biting our lettuces that rinses off. So really organic, really friendly ways of trying to deal with bugs. You can hear all the towers going off at once. It's also a great water feature to have.
Yeah, it does. It feels like we're in a waterfall now,
Yeah,
and we can
rainforest.
probably zoom in and watch. So let's go on a little tour,
For sure.
and you can show us how you fill the water and what you put in that, and then we'll move indoors. So
Okay.
let's move to that.
So in the greenhouse, we grow all sorts of different types of lettuce. This is a green sweet lettuce. It has a really crisp, sweet flavor. And then you can see right behind it, we grow arugula. So they're growing right next to each other. Across the aisle, this is a really fun mix of different types of greens that we've just put together. It has different kales and and mustard greens in it, so it has a little spiciness. It has a little bit of fun, frilly nature to it. So the tower offers you the ability to kind of mix and match what you're growing, and it's only there for 4 weeks, and then I can totally change up what's there. The neat thing is that each one of our towers is independent of each other. And so if something goes wrong with the tower, if a pump goes down, we only lose like one tower to that problem. We don't lose the whole farm. And each tower has its water and nutrients all mixed into the tower and is isolated from each other. And we use a mineral blend that's an isotopic mineral that's as close to the natural thing as possible. Why don't we head inside so I can show you guys how you can grow in your own home too.
Nick invited us into his home, and as you can see, he had some fresh dill, freshly grown from his tower garden indoors.
Okay, so this is the Tower Garden home version. You can tell it's a lot shorter than the ones we had out in the greenhouse, a lot more manageable. It has a neat 2-foot base so that it can roll through any size doorway. It has wheels attached to the bottom, so it's easy to move around. It has 16 larger ports for larger plants, and it has 16 smaller ports for smaller plants or baby plants or microgreens, or like this is a thyme that we grow up in the top. So there's a lot of flexibility in what you can grow. But in a 2 square foot area in your home, you can grow 32 different plants at a time, which is really the neat thing. And so if you live in an apartment or you live in a townhome or an assisted living, you have the ability, or dorm room. We talked about colleges earlier and how college kids need to get some of these fresh foods. It's really important to get that nutritious food in your body that tastes good. And here's a great way of being able to grow a whole variety of it right in your dining room, right in your closet, anywhere.
And with this system, you don't have to worry about lighting because those tubes coming off the side are the lighting. And
that's right. So it has its own incorporated lighting system. It's LED lights that provide light. Usually whenever you grow anything indoors, and I can't emphasize this to people enough, even if you're using the aquaponic little gardens that you can buy in Costco right now, you need to put some sort of lights on there that provide a UV lighting for the plants. All of our windows stop that from coming into our homes by design. And so you have to have lights on plants when you grow inside.
And that's a good plug for Leslie Halleck's book, Gardening with Lights, which we advocate often. She is an expert horticulturist, and she wrote a book just on gardening with lights for indoor growing. And she's amazing. She grows tomatoes year-round in her garage.
It's unbelievable.
So this is really cool. I'm really surprised that it really doesn't take up so much space, and that it's right near the kitchen, so you can just go and snip off herbs when you're making your food, because as we know, once we have to start going outside and different things, or we have certain seasons we can't even get fresh herbs and these gorgeous greens. I mean, look at that lettuce. That's beautiful. And like you were saying, that even if you wanted to put it in a closet, I mean, that's amazing.
That's right. It takes up such a little space and such a little area. It adds a little bit of a water feature to your home. The pump goes off every 12 minutes, and you just get a minute or two of water running through your home. And it's a really smooth, soft sound, and we'll show you the lights later when they're on. And it offers kind of it's not a really harsh light. It's kind of a fine light that we light the whole kitchen and dining room with it most of the time. So.
Okay, so why don't you show us? Go ahead, and we'll turn the lights on, and then we'll be able to step back and watch. And so it's like a glow light. It's like LED, right?
That's right, LED
so
lights.
Same kind of lights most of us are using on our Christmas trees these days. So has a nice little glow to it, and that's kind of nice to see even in the winter months. Just some extra.
A little bit
brightness.
of extra brightness. That's right. When it's cloudy out, it makes you a little happier.
Awesome. Well, Nick, thank you so much. We really appreciate. Oh, here it just turned on, so I'm going to zoom up close to show you.
I can take this time out of the way, and you can see the water dripping through it.
And just listen to it. It's very peaceful. And so, as you can see, there doesn't seem to be any issues with leaking on floors.
No, we keep it on our hardwood floors. We keep it on a jute rug, and we've never had any problems with water flowing down on the ground or anything like that. And it's just a great way to have great tasting food at your fingertips. That's the most important thing. I mean, nutrition's important, but when we think about food, we want it to taste good.
Yeah, and it's amazing how much fresh food tastes so much better. People don't.
right.
We're so detached from that whenever I introduce kids, especially to tasting, I just did a tasting of broccoli that I grew for the first time this year.
That's right.
And my neighbor's little girl who gardens with me, she couldn't believe it. It was so delicious.
Yeah,
She said
kids
she was
hate broccoli because it's just mushy gunk that they get
yeah,
shipped
but
from
it's
California.
sweet when
but
it's fresh out of the garden.
Sweet and wonderful and crispy.
Awesome. So Nick, end us off. Tell us what your website is and how we contact
Sure.
you.
You can find our farm at www.toughproduce.com. We provide the triangle with nutritious greens, and we have tower gardens for sale. You can look up all the information that you want for tower gardens at Hosking. That's HOSKING .towergarden.com.
Okay, awesome. And we'll post those in our newsletter, and also we'll include this in the video so we make sure we can all see that. So we thank you so much for your
Yeah,
time.
guys, thanks for coming to visit the farm and looking at the tower gardens, and let us know if you have any questions. We'd love to help you, and happy growing.
Very good. Awesome.
Let's take a quick look at some other food and plants that we can grow in small spaces. Microgreens is a favorite. They're easy to grow indoors and they're very tasty on many dishes. And did you know that when we grow broccoli sprouts, that they contain higher levels of the cancer-fighting phytochemical sulforaphane glucosinolate than mature heads of broccoli? Very good for us. Succulent gardens have become very popular, and we will talk more about these in the future when we talk about water-wise gardens. Air plants or tillandsias are another option. They don't require soil, they're easy to maintain, and they come in many varieties, and as you can see, you can get very creative with how you display them. I'll put the care instructions in this week's newsletter. Lastly, just want to mention if you happen to have a balcony, you can always buy one of these containers that attaches to the balcony, and you can grow all kinds of food, herbs, or flowers.
So as always, we hope you enjoyed this episode of Healthy Green Thumbs, and we hope that you share what you're growing indoors using the hashtag Healthy Green Thumbs on social media so we can find and like and share what you're growing and build our Healthy Green Thumbs community.